Hi guys, I hope everyone is doing well. Hope everyone's doing well. It is a beautiful morning here in northern Georgia. I hope everyone can hear me, and I hope the visuals are good. It's going to be just a quick stream to talk about a couple of things. I got a few collections of Lovecraft stories, short stories right here. And we're going to talk just a little bit about cosmic horror because I am getting ready to start covering more and more Lovecraft here on this channel. There seems to be quite a bit of interest. I recently put out a poll and there was a lot of interest in me, covering some more Lovecraft stuff. So right now, actually, right this very moment, I was just in the middle of finishing off the editing for my Children of Dune sci-fi miniseries review. And I was also working on the video for my Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness video that I will be releasing perhaps later tonight or tomorrow. We'll see, depending on how much how the work flows. So it's great that everyone can see and hear me well. Sound is kind of scuffed. Not sure what that means. Looks like most people are saying that the sound is good and looking good. All right, so great. Excellent, guys. So yeah, cosmic horror. Let's talk about what cosmic horror is just a little bit. So cosmic horror basically hones in on the fear of the unknown or the unknowable, right? And it says right here on the back of this copy of Lovecraft short stories that I have right here. It's a really great quote about cosmic horror right here. It says, "The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest of fear is the fear of the unknown," right? And that kind of says a bit about who Lovecraft was as a human being, because a lot of people have pointed out that he is, or that he was, because he's not alive anymore, obviously, that he was quite xenophobic when he lived, and he was, quite bigoted against immigrants. And, that does show up in his work, and it manifests through the way he expresses cosmic horror. And he's known as the inventor of cosmic horror. There were some people that played with some of these concepts later on, but it really was H.P. Lovecraft that expanded upon these ideas. And he wasn't actually popular during the time that he was alive, but he certainly became popular as time went on after his death. And, in recent years, there's been quite a resurgence in interest in Lovecraft's work, which, I like to see. I know a lot of people do have a problem, or at least some people have a problem with people promoting Lovecraft's books because he was, like I said before, kind of pretty bigoted of a human being himself. But, in my personal opinion, he lived 100 years ago. You're not supporting him by reading his work. So I don't see the harm in buying Lovecraft's books and reading Lovecraft's work, because they really are terrifying. And I guess his fear of immigrants worked in the sense that he was able to write very compelling stories about the fear of the unknown, fear of the hidden, what awaits out in the cosmos. I chose to do to cover the story Mountains of Madness, at the Mountains of Madness first, because it's been one of my favorites for a long time. I love the ideas that are in it. I don't want to give away too much because I am working on the video, but the idea of human arrogance, and we depend so much on our own knowledge of the world, or our own seeming knowledge of the world and of reality. And we really don't know that much. There's so much. There's that quote: "There are more things under heaven and earth that are dreamed of in your philosophy." Definitely applies here, because you have this expedition of scientists visiting Antarctica, and they make a terrifying discovery that's terrifying in multiple ways, that kind of uproots everything that they know about, human history and the history of civilization on Earth. And it's such a great story. Curiously enough, Ridley Scott may have taken a lot of ideas from At the Mountains of Madness when he made the movie Prometheus. And actually, if I remember correctly, I think director Guillermo del Toro was working on an At the Mountains of Madness movie, but he chose not to do it because Ridley Scott was doing Prometheus, and it had a lot of similarities to At the Mountains of Madness. Because one of the things, well, spoilers, one of the things that happens in Mountains of Madness is they discover that human beings basically exist because we are essentially the leftover residue of these eldritch beings that existed, before we were even thought of on Earth. Looks like I got a super chat from Mark. Let me put it up on the screen. I got a super chat from Mark Same Think. I mean, H.G. Wells and Shakespeare would probably have some racist ideas too. The product of their time argument is a good one, in my opinion. Nyarlathotep is a beast. Check out Merriweather's comics for cosmic horror. Nyarlathotep, however you say his name, is one of the eldritch horrors from Lovecraft's body of work. He's one of the gods that exist. But of course, the gods in Lovecraft's work aren't true gods, in the sense that the true God in the sense that not true gods in the sense that gods are thought of, in religious connotations. They are simply beings of, incredible power, beings that are quite ancient. The gods in Lovecraft's work, what makes them particularly kind of horrible, is the fact that they take no stock in, human affairs. They don't care about humans. Humans are residue. We're like ants to them. They're indifferent to our existence. And a theme that runs through Lovecraft's work is as well that they were here before us, and one day these eldritch horrors that existed long before we did will rise up and reclaim the earth, and we will be able to do nothing to stop them. I got another super chat from Marie Evans, but I don't know if I should read that. Max Mercer says Prometheus was garbage. Ridley Scott should have never been allowed near aliens again. Prometheus did have a lot of problems, but it did play on some of those ideas of cosmic horror, even though they weren't truly expanded upon. The root of that idea is from the Mountains of Madness. The discovery, like I said, that humankind was seeded by an indifferent higher race of beings, pretty much. Lauren's Corner. Hi, how's it going, Lauren? Lauren says Lovecraft may have been racist, but he could write, and he isn't the only writer in history that has that same sort of background or varying POVs we don't agree with in the modern world. Exactly. And, I think people would be surprised when it comes to, writers that they like, or even just creators of art that they like. You're not going to agree with them on everything. I'm sure plenty of people that you like have some views that you might not like, or might even think are reprehensible. Yeah, indeed. Jamaika. Most people are products of their time. That is definitely true. But yeah, to get back to what I was saying, one of the reasons that cosmic horror is scary is because humans do kind of have this innate fear of the unknown. We look out into the cosmos and we wonder what could be hidden there, right? To some people, the idea that there is nothing is more terrifying than the idea that there is something. But Lovecraft suggests that there is something. There are great things, great terrible things that exist out in the universe, great powerful, amazing things. But these things are mostly malignant and largely indifferent to the affairs of humankind. These gods, they don't care about what we do because there's this idea in religion, that if there's a God, the God is watching over us. The God, is concerned about our day-to-day activities. The God is, doling out justice where it's needed, punishment to the wicked when due. But in Lovecraft's cosmic horror, yes, there are beings of great power, but they don't care about justice. The universe is not only cold and indifferent, it's also full of horrors beyond our wildest imaginations. And that's a terrifying prospect because it's very hopeless. Funerals, Lord of Grave Rapist, Sword of Cain says, "God damn, why are you streaming so early?" Well, as they say, the early bird gets the worm. Well, basically, I was out because I am working on finishing a few videos. Working on finishing my Children of Dune review, as I said at the start of the stream, and also working on my video on Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness. So I decided to come on here, talk a little bit about cosmic horror with you guys, just for a little bit. I can't stream for too long, but just for a little bit. Lauren's Corner says it's not early, it's 2 p.m. here in Scotland. Exactly. It's only early in some parts of the world. It's 9 a.m. here in Georgia. So Jason Perez says, Nick Cage, Color Out of Space is meh. I have not seen it, though it's been suggested to me. I think I heard someone say that it will soon be getting a wider release. If you don't know, The Color Out of Space is another Lovecraft story. It's an interesting one. This mysterious color that, crash lands near farm. It starts corrupting everything around it, starts mutating the plants and making them grow huge, driving the animals insane, driving the people insane. And it's another idea that the idea that Lovecraft is playing on in that story is that, there's things out there in the cosmos, that are terrible and, kind of incomprehensible to us. Your voice sounds weird. Are you sick? Well, it is quite early. It is a bit early. That's probably what's going on. Unless there's something wrong with my microphone. In the movie, it's not only a color, it's a noise and smell. I think smell might be an element in the story as well, if I'm not mistaken. Gabriel Asaf says, Guillermo del Toro's Mountains of Madness would have been great. Shame that cosmic horror doesn't really translate all that well into movies. Alien is the definition of Lovecraftian horror, in my opinion. You're right, Lovecraftian horror doesn't necessarily translate that well into movies. A lot of times it's psychological. It's within the minds of characters. And, a lot of times you'll be with the protagonist in a Lovecraft story and they've come across, some terrible truth. And this horrible truth is slowly descending them into madness because they can't cope with the reality of their world, right? And it would unsettle you. it would unsettle you to know that such things like Cthulhu and Nyarlathotep existed. Um, Great terrors that could, undo everything that we've created here on Earth easily. The idea that something like Cthulhu could sleep just beneath the Earth, just waiting for the opportunity, or just waiting to awaken whenever, it did. And then it could undo everything that we as a species have created in an instant. Zachary, but it's funny because we have the power to do that ourselves now. But Zachary Meinhold says, "What is your favorite adaptation of Lovecraft?" There are many, but mine is World of Warcraft. I didn't realize that Warcraft was an adaptation of Lovecraft. I haven't seen many adaptations of Lovecraft. I've read a lot of his books and short stories, but I haven't watched a lot of things that have tried to adapt Lovecraft. I know there are various, shows and movies and books that take elements of Lovecraft and, make them a part of, their greater body of work. I mean, George R. R. Martin does that. Recently, the new season of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina on Netflix had a lot of Lovecraftian concepts going on. It's looking like their last season is going to be full-on Lovecraft, eldritch horrors returning. So Lovecraft is incorporated in a lot of other works, but I haven't, sat down and watched anything that's directly adapting a particular Lovecraft story. At least I don't remember right off the top of my head. Looks like I got another super chat. Thank you so much, Wisdom Minari. Just got in the stream. Have you talked about The Thing? Also, happy Friday. No, I've never talked about The Thing. The Thing is a classic horror movie. There's definitely a lot of, Lovecraftian ideas in there. Yeah, another movie interesting that I saw kind of recently, or within the last couple of years, was the movie Life. And that movie stars Rebecca Ferguson, who, as some of you may know, is playing the Lady Jessica in the upcoming Dune movie. And the movie Life, they uncover an organism out there in space. And it's an extremely adaptable organism. And eventually their mission simply becomes, it can't get to Earth. So it's like, even if we die, we can't let it get to Earth because it's something that is beyond us. And that's the type of thing that Lovecraft is playing with. There are things out there that are terrifying beyond our greatest imaginations. Life, based on the board game or the serial? I think neither. It was a science fiction film. Wired Lane, space can be really spooky. Yeah, that's exactly the types of ideas that Lovecraft played on. But not only space in Lovecraft's universe, but, other dimensions, realms of existence that were, beyond our comprehension even. Jay Midser, will Tadia ship international? When it will indeed. If you don't know about Tadia, Tadia is my upcoming graphic novel that I've been working on for a while now. You can get put on the mailing list, link in the description. It's totally free to get put on the mailing list, and you can get, you'll get a discount by once Tadia actually comes out, and you can get, earlier behind the scenes looks and stuff like that. So definitely get put on the mailing list. Link right in the description. Oh, Daniel Green, buddy, how's it going? Put you on the screen. I gotta ask a super basic question personally for you. Lovecraft, Poe, or King? I have love for all three, but King's universe has completely won me, especially after finishing The Dark Tower. I did see that you finished The Dark Tower. Dark Tower is there's a lot of different Lovecraftian things going on in Dark Tower too. Dark Tower is such an amazing series. I just love how abstract and weird and diverse it is. God, this is a very hard question. I'm not super big on Edgar Allan Poe. I mean, The Raven is a great poem, obviously. I mean, I love a lot of his works. So it's between Lovecraft and King for me. Ultimately, if I had to say, if I was in a bunker and I had to pick one author, I had to choose between the work of Lovecraft and the work of Stephen King. I'd have to pick Stephen King. because Stephen King takes a lot of the ideas that Lovecraft kind of created or invented, and then builds upon them and brings them into like a modern sense, which is very terrifying. I view the book It as a huge book about cosmic horror. That's what it is. It is this creature beyond our comprehension and understanding that has come to Earth, invaded us, and invaded Earth essentially, and well, it's a book about cosmic horror. I don't want to spoil it exactly for anybody that hasn't read it, because I know a lot of people that have seen that movie or seen the new movies, and it's they kind of abandoned the whole cosmic horror element. But yeah, it is basically a book about cosmic horror. It's about an eldritch being that has come to Earth, and these kids dealing with it. I know, Dunwich Horror is another one where Stephen King is. Well, Dunwich Horror is Lovecraft. Dunwich Horror is a Lovecraft book. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read you guys' comments and talk at the same time. But yeah, anyway, I'm rambling. Stephen King. I pick Stephen King over Lovecraft, even though I have mad respect for Lovecraft and everything that he's done. And of course, he's one of the most influential authors ever when it comes to horror. And it's important to note that there probably wouldn't be Stephen King as we know him if there hadn't been Lovecraft first. Quinn, have you read the Culture books by Ian M. Banks? I have. Not all of them, but I have started that series. It's great. Classic science fiction. Now, there was a comment that I was seeing a minute ago that went by a little quickly, and I wanted to read that. Should I stop this music? Is the music freaking you guys out? Is it messing up my sound? I do have some music playing. I can stop it if it's annoying. There it goes. I stopped it. Let's see, where did it go? I can't find it. Whatever. Okay, so what is that? Quinn, what do you think about the ending of It? I hear it's not good. If you like really weird stories, then I like the ending of It. Stephen King gets weird sometimes. Stephen King gets super, super weird. And there's a lot of elements to It that I think would make a lot of people uncomfortable. But when it comes to horror, there's elements of horror. The horror is horror because it makes you uncomfortable in a certain sense. But some King is great for me. Some is kind of mess, as Christopher Reynolds. That's true about almost any author. But I will agree that certain Stephen King books do get a bit formulaic. I recently mentioned in another stream that I caught up on a lot of his newer books. I read The Institute, I read The Outsider, I read the Mr. Mercedes trilogy. And a curious thing and he's not the best at endings, especially especially with The Outsider. I found myself more disappointed with the ending of The Outsider now that I think about it more and more, because it ends. He spends a lot of time setting up that creature, the outsider, and then it's kind of taken out in a way that's kind of not fitting, I thought. And then with The Institute, I enjoyed the journey with The Institute. And I was wondering throughout, I wonder if this is the same universe that Carrie takes place in. Because, it's about these kind of telekinetic / somewhat psychic children, right? And I thought, if Carrie was in this universe, The Institute could have never held Carrie, but they didn't address it. So I'm guessing maybe, I don't know. Maybe there is some rationale later. But it seemed like the ending of The Institute wasn't really an ending. It was really just Stephen King setting up a sequel, maybe. But for me, it wasn't very satisfying, because it was kind of like, the kids went through so much, and then it's, well, the Institute is going to continue doing what it does, and there's nothing we can do about it. But maybe that was kind of the point he was trying to get across. Daniel Green says 11/22/63 may be his greatest book. I loved every page. See, I have not read that one yet. That's the one about the time traveler. And I have heard great things about that one, and that one's next on my list. Because, like I said, I've been on this huge Stephen King kick recently, just catching up on a lot of stuff. Jordan says, yes, King is known for bad endings. But, I would, I guess I kind of started talking about that because someone brought up the ending of It. Now, I don't think It is one of his worst endings. I think It is one of his better endings. That book resolves itself in a way that's pretty satisfying, I would say. I'll give it. Quinn, another super chat. When I actually liked Color Out of Space, it's obvious that Annihilation was based off of it. It's similar to the panspermia theory. I definitely did get Lovecraftian vibes watching Annihilation. And if you didn't see Annihilation, it's this great science fiction movie that came out a couple of years ago. Natalie Portman's in it, I think. Very, very, very interesting movie. I enjoyed it a lot. The idea that there is, something lands on Earth, and it's something strange beyond our comprehension. Where did it come from? It's beyond our understanding. All right, guys, I'm just going to stream for a little bit longer. Not too long, because I actually do have to get going pretty soon to actually finish the videos that I'm working on. Where did it come from? Where did it go? Exactly. Quinn, are we talking about horror only? Or is there any chance about Dune? We can talk about whatever. I did just want to do this stream to just let you guys know that I'm getting ready to move more into breaking down more and more Lovecraft stuff. Because there seems to be a lot of information about it. Well, not a lot of information. There seems to be a lot of interest growing for people been wanting me to cover it, because I've talked about Lovecraft a bunch on this channel, in the context of A Song of Ice and Fire. George R. Martin is obviously a big fan of Lovecraft's original body of canon. He's not such a big fan of, the work that later authors did, going back in and, retconning things and adding things in, because it kind of destroys the mystery. The mystery is a big part of it. So I've talked about it, in the context of George R. Martin's universe, him using certain names or places and placing them within the world. But I've never dived directly into Lovecraft's work and explored his whole thing independently. Daniel Green says, no idea why Annihilation got negative reviews. The movie is insanely good. I very much enjoyed the ending. I think because the ending was somewhat abstract and it was left open, that bothers people a little bit. I think a lot of people can't, or have a harder time getting behind, the weirder stories, the more cerebral stories. People kind of want to be, fed the same thing that they've seen 1,000 times. Whereas I thought Annihilation was super unique and engaging and interesting. And I wanted to know more about this creature and where it came from. The final scene where Natalie Portman's character confronts the mimic creature was, it had my heart pounding. It was very intense. I love the line in the movie where the one military chick character is talking about, annihilation, and she's talking about how, I forget exactly what she says, but there's a scene where they play that really dramatic music after she says the word annihilation. It's really dramatic. Really good score. Really good score in that movie. Great visuals, great acting. Great science fiction. Especially compared to a lot of the crap science fiction that gets released. And we had to sit through 4 of those Maze Runner movies before they finally put an end to it. Jay Nitzer says, I love your breakdown of Dune, Quinn. Excellent work. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the way the Dune fandom, especially accepted me, over the years. it's been really exciting to grow, my Dune audience and just my sci-fi audience and just an audience beyond A Song of Ice and Fire, which is, of course, what I started with this channel. Greetings from Costa Rica, says Rodrigo Porres Morales. I'm sorry, I can't say names. I'm really bad about it. I'm notorious for butchering names. So I mean no offense if I totally ruin your names. Sideshow says, do you like The Lord of the Rings, Quinn? Of course I like The Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings is a classic series. Now, I will admit that I am a bigger fan of the movies than Tolkien's actual books and his stories. I love the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies, and the Hobbit ones are not so great, but of course Lord of the Rings is unbeatable. What did you read first, A Song of Ice and Fire or Dune? Well, definitely A Song of Ice and Fire. I read A Song of Ice and Fire many years ago. I read Dune much later in my life. Zach Weil says, I came for A Song of Ice and Fire, but stayed for Dune. Frank Herbert's universe is the best series of books ever written. Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad you enjoy the channel. A little bit in, when Frank Herbert plays with the idea of a great enemy in God, Emperor of Dune, and in the Dune series, he is playing with the idea of cosmic horror a bit. When you have the Honored Matres running away from an unknown enemy that they uncovered in outer space, he is playing with the idea of cosmic horror. What awaits out there in our cosmos? What terrible things, what unimaginable powers and horrors await? But of course, in the Brian Herbert books, it turned out to be the Machine Empire. But that is cosmic horror that he's playing with the bit there. Gabriel says, do you think that the others are a winter personification and act like a natural force without a will or purpose? No, I don't think that. Though I do think they are a personification of winter, and of a force of nature. They are just that, a personification. So I think they have characteristics that go beyond, I think they do have more, I guess, probably human motivations, because ultimately George R. R. Martin is writing a human story. And if we are to relate with the others on any level, which I think we will to some degree by the end of the series, they need to have a motivation beyond just we are killing because we are winter. I think what we're dealing with, the themes that we're dealing with in A Song of Ice and Fire is, nature on the offense. This is nature's retaliation. The humans have offended nature, and nature is snapping back. W.T. Keaton says, Lovecraft was sometimes a terrible writer in the terms of structure, but he was unmatched in creating atmosphere. Yeah, Lovecraft definitely creates a terrifying atmosphere. He has a very interesting vocabulary. Lovecraft will definitely have you hitting up a dictionary. Dictionary, for sure. He likes to, and speaking on structure, he likes to do this thing where he starts the story at the end of the story, and then the story is told in flashbacks. That's a structural thing that's seen throughout his stories. That's done in The Call of Cthulhu, I believe. That's done in At the Mountains of Madness. So you see the end, and then you see the beginning, which is interesting. Yes, Jay Mincer, the Tarantino style. Raphael G says 5.0. Well, thank you so much for your super chat, Raphael. I don't know what you mean by 5.0, but thank you so much for your super chat. Yo, Quinn, have you seen, and you're a fan of any anime series? Well, of course I've seen some anime series. I'm not the biggest anime guy in the world, if I have to admit. I'm just not. But you know, I've seen some. I watched Inuyasha when I was growing up. I've seen bits of Naruto. You know, Attack on Titan is pretty good. I will say that. But you know, I've seen here and there. I've seen some. I got another super chat from Joseph No Videography. Great channel. I love your academic approach to genre fiction discussion. Thank you so much for your super chat, and thank you so much for the nice words. I appreciate it greatly. I really do. Another super chat. I didn't almost notice that. Joni Lambert, keep these videos coming. Will do, definitely. Some of you guys might have noticed I've started streaming more on this channel, and I've been putting a lot of these streams on a secret hidden playlist on my channel way down at the bottom. I unlist these streams after we're done, so they just don't clutter up the main channel when I put them in that playlist, so you can still find them. So you can find all those previous streams in that playlist. And like I said earlier, if you're just joining, you know, click the link in the description, get put on the mailing list for my upcoming graphic novel. I'm really excited about it. If you like fantasy, if you like horror, you know, get put on the mailing list. It'll be out in a few months. We're very excited. Actually, I was going to announce artist Matthew Weldon is actually is who we've been working with to draw the internal art for the book. So that's super exciting. And I can't wait to show you guys his work. Lawrence Corner says, Quinn's Ideas. As a Stephen King noob and instant fan, which book should I read? Also, would you like to do some live stream discussions with me and teach me your horror wisdoms? Anytime, Lauren, anytime. Well, when it comes to Stephen King, if you want to get weird right off the bat, you got to pick up, you know, Gunslinger, the first book in the Dark Tower series. And then if you dig Gunslinger, then you're gonna blow through the Dark Tower. It's so good, so bizarre, so strange. So yeah, very weird, very, very weird. So if you like weird stuff, get into that. And then other than that, I would say as far as standalone books, The Stand is always a go-to. Can't go wrong with The Stand. Post-apocalyptic. It might be even scarier now considering what's going on in the world with the coronavirus. Because, you know, you have in The Stand, in the beginning of that book, you have like, you know, what seems like the flu going around, but it very quickly gets out of hand, spreads very quickly, and it's something much worse than the flu. And then there's also a supernatural element because it is Stephen King. Then there's, of course, It. It is one of Stephen King's greatest books. And it's a shame what they did with those movies, those recent movies that came out, because they don't capture, you know, the real spirit of it and what that book is about. Like I said, that is a book about cosmic horror. Mystica Fairy says, will Tadia be shipped to Europe or available in ebook form? Yes to both of those questions. W.T. Keaton says, Quinn's Ideas. Would you agree that King is a writer who suffers from being too big for an editor to tell him no? Similar to the way Hyland got at the end. Perhaps, you know, Stephen King has flaws like any author. You know, there's certainly some weird things that happen in Stephen King's books that I wonder about. And, you know, I don't necessarily agree with some of the choices. You know, I might understand what he was going for, but I don't necessarily agree with them. I guess I'll talk about this. For instance, there's a scene in the book It that gets a lot of attention because it's quite out there. So if you don't know it, so it is a story about these adolescent children, and really what it's about is, the fading of their innocence, and, almost about the stealing of their innocence, like the death of innocence. And, these kids are kind of like forced into childhood. I mean, not out of childhood. These kids are kind of forced into adulthood by this eldritch horror that is the creature It. Um, and so there is a scene in It where after they defeat the creature the first time, they are lost under the ground. Um, and when they defeated the creature the first time, it was because of this kind of a metaphysical bond that they possessed, because they were the what do they call themselves? The Losers Club, the Lucky Seven, whatever they call them, because seven had this talismanic quality, as Stephen King called it. But there's a scene where they're in the caves and they're lost, and they realize that in order to restore their connection, they have to engage in intercourse with each other. So that happens. And I guess that was Stephen King's way of, I guess what it's supposed to symbolize is, one, they're not kids anymore. This is the point where they're no longer kids, they're adults. And it symbolizes their bond, I guess. And so after that happens, after that scene, they leave the cave. And it's like I read that, and I've read a lot about what other people think about the scene, and it's like I still don't necessarily agree with that choice, but it's weird. Whatever, you can get over it. For the most part, it is a really fantastic book, even though, and a lot of times authors do things and you're just like, I don't necessarily agree with that narrative decision, but you can understand why they did it and not agree at the same time. Jealous Man, are you worried they'll try to milk Dune and the movies make money? There's already a series and a graphic novel. I'm kind of worried. Well, only time will tell. Hollywood kind of likes to milk everything, as you very well know. They are making a Sisterhood of Dune show, which seems like it might be based off of Brian Herbert's Sisterhood of Dune book. So we'll see. But Frank Herbert has a lot of material, a lot of source material that they could use and cover, and hopefully they stick to it. But I, for the most part, I'm excited about the prospect of Dune becoming more mainstream, and more people becoming aware of it, because I do think it is such a great, rich series with so much to tell us about who we are as human beings. You can read that book and reflect a lot about the state of our society and the real world. There's a lot in there. And, that's the whole purpose of science fiction, to make us think about who we are as people. Pagan Pilgrim says at least all of Herbert's work is finished already. So no season 8 car crash. Well, Frank Herbert actually died before his final book was released. And, his son, Brian Herbert, and Kevin J. Anderson came in and finished the final 2 books. And a lot of Dune fans, those Brian Herbert and Kevin J. are like kind of season 8. To be honest, to a lot of Dune fans, they are. I don't see them that way. I don't necessarily. I don't agree with some of the decisions, but I don't think they're as awful as some would claim. Herman Langfoss, why did you change your channel name? Well, because I'm Quinn's Ideas. It's not just Ideas of Ice and Fire. Like for most of this stream, for instance, we've been talking about good old Lovecraft. We've been talking about good old Lovecraft. I have far more ideas than simply Ideas of Ice and Fire. So, I thought Ideas of Ice and Fire was a much more appropriate name, don't you think? Since I cover a various array of topics. Timothy Thorne, thank you so much for your super chat. I will put it on the screen when it shows it. Here we go. Just finished watching a Song of Ice and Fire video on your channel yesterday. Wow. Wow. I got a good many. Got a good many on there. Been doing this for several years now. I balked but have not got into the Dune series because of your channel. I'm wondering if you still think the Iron Throne is Valyrian steel. You know, I had this theory a while back. By the way, thank you so much for your super chat. I did have this theory a while back because we don't know that much about the process of creating Valyrian steel. But we do know that all Valyrian magic was rooted in fire and blood. And the Iron Throne was forged with dragon fire and has also been baptized in the blood of kings. You got Maegor, who died on the throne. So I had this idea, and I could almost see the scene in my head of the Iron Throne being taken apart. And, the swords of the Iron Throne could maybe have been formed into Valyrian steel after all this time. And so it would be taken apart and the swords used to fight the others. And as you know, the Iron Throne in the book is much bigger than it is in the show. I mean, so, it was kind of a little bit on the crack pottery side, but still a potential possibility. I could see it still. Perhaps. Marvin Martin, thank you so much for your super chat. You are a regular on these streams. I recommend The Legend of Tarek by Walter Dean Myers. And it goes on the list. Thank you so much for your recommendation. Now, guys, I can't stream for too much longer because I do have a lot of work to get to. If you've been enjoying the stream, feel free to hit the like button. That would be greatly appreciated. Hit the like button on the stream. Do it. You still haven't done it. I can see you. It's time to do it. I'm talking to you specifically. You right there. The person listening but not liking. Do it now. Gabriel Bandera, are you a writer? Yes, I am actually. And, if you're interested in my work, you can get put on the mailing list for my upcoming graphic novel, Tadia, which is a horror story about witches in, a fictional world that I created. Click the link in the description and get put on the mailing list. Quinn, how to have the energy and will to write every day. That's a funny thing that I struggle with sometimes, because sometimes I'm just like, write. It's just like I have to, even if what I'm writing is terrible, it's important, it really is to just write something. Just write and write and write and write and write. And then you can always keep editing, because that's what writing is. Right? It's the process of editing and re-editing and rewriting over and over and over again. Oh God, I got the coronavirus. Oh no. Oh no, guys. I'm not long for this world. Oh no. Everyone's saying bless you. Thank you so much for saying bless you. Bless me, bless me, bless me. Gray plague confirmed. You guys are hilarious. Rest in peace. Lauren's Corner says, also writer, I know the grind. Oh, I know you do, Lauren. For sure. Will Tadia be an ongoing series? Definitely interested. Well, I'll tell you a little bit more about Tadia before I go. Well, this first volume of Tadia is, so we're thinking about it in 3 volumes. I know the entire story. Obviously, the script for the first volume is entirely complete. We're just waiting for the art to be completed. So yeah, I'm telling it in 3 volumes, 3 48-page graphic novels. Books 2 and 3 probably most likely will be longer than 48 pages. They'll probably increase in size as they go on. So it's not an ongoing series, as in the sense that it's just going to keep going and going and going and going. There is certainly a beginning, middle, and end. I know exactly where I want to take all of these characters. One-Eyed Crow says, "Who's doing the art for your book?" The talented Matthew Weldon is doing the art for my book. You can look up his art online, I'm sure, and find it on Google or whatever. But yeah, Matthew Weldon is incredibly talented, and I couldn't be more excited to have him on this project. I got another super chat. Thanks for the stream, Quinn. Do you think games like Chrono Trigger and Earthbound count as cosmic horror? Well, I'm not the biggest gamer, so I don't know about those games. But, you know, if they include elements of cosmic horror, then probably do. You know, I'm not in the camp of people that don't think video games are art. I think video games are definitely art. Video games include elements of, you know, various different kinds of art. You know, they've got, you know, narration, which is a form of art. You know, all of the art design that goes into producing like characters and, you know, the worlds. So, you know, video games are art, and, you know, if there's cosmic horror in there, then it's cosmic horror. All right, guys. I said before I started that this would be a shorter stream. Thank you guys so much for watching, hanging out with me for a little bit. If you've enjoyed the stream, hit the like button. And if you guys are interested, get put on the mailing list for my upcoming graphic novel, Tadia. And I will be sending out some emails here pretty soon with some exclusive details. Thank you guys so much. I will talk to you guys later. I'll be finishing up the editing for my Children of Dune video in just a bit. And my video on Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness will either be up later tonight or tomorrow. Peace, guys. It's been great.